Enlighten. Inspire. Shine. In spirit.
Navigating life together as a couple, a family, a community, and as human beings. Together, we will enlighten and inspire each other in order to go forth and shine in the world.
Welcome to the INSPIRIT Network.
Hello, everyone. It's Lisa and Dan, and we welcome you to our first episode of INSPIRIT Network, EIS.
You may be asking yourself, what does EIS stand for? It represents enlighten, inspire, and shine. These are the three segments you'll always see on this tape show of the INSPIRIT Network. And we'll start with our first segment now. Well, our first topic for our inaugural show is something you probably guessed. It's a little bit more about Lisa and myself, and a lot more about what this show is going to be all about.
And so to start it off, we were born and raised in the Midwest, and we didn't meet each other until the 8th grade.
Hold on. You just went from being born to 8th grade.
Yes.
So we're skipping all the family slide
Correct.
show. All right. Well,
so what was your first memory of me?
I've told this story so many times, and it's absolutely the truth. School year had just started, and of course I had been in the school district all my life, and school's getting ready to begin. The band hour comes up, and all of us are catching up on what we had done over the summer and everything like that. And as I look across the band room into where the band door is, there's this beautiful girl, but she's wearing a fish dress.
So my family and I used to go to Florida for the summer, for a few weeks in the summer, and it was always right before school started. And so that's where we did all of our school shopping for clothes. So I'm sure the styles were a little bit different there. And that would explain why I had this dress with all these colorful fish all over it.
I got to tell you, it's probably better than having a dress with a lot of dairy cows all over it. But anyhow, so I'm looking across this room and I see this beautiful girl, and I noticed that she's carrying a flute. So I found a friend of mine who played the flute, and I said, "Who's that girl?" Thinking that flute player would know a flute player, and she had no idea. I went over to a tuba player friend of mine, said, "Do you know who that girl is?" She didn't know either. And so I was going to make it my mission to figure out just who that girl was over the course of the school year.
And for me, everybody was new, so Dan didn't stick out to me just yet.
Well, okay, so when did I stick out?
So it would have to be the lunch line when you challenged me to a contest. We were for a band having a fundraiser, and we were required to sell T-shirts, and I think there was jackets,
Jerseys.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Dan walks up to me, or I guess was behind me in the lunch line. He decides to strike up a conversation. And so he challenges me to, and it goes, who could sell the most
Hold on.
merchandise?
See,
that was the bet.
No,
who
that's
could send the most?
No, that
Yes.
is not an accurate reflection. Fake news. So it was who can sell the most. That was the bet.
Mm-hmm.
And the most, when you're trying to do a fundraiser, the most money is the most important.
Well, I sold the most T-shirts, so I think I won the bet.
and I sold the most in money, and so had the better part of the fundraising. So we argue about this to this day, and I
The way you
won.
worded the bet, I won.
Not even the case. So anyhow, from that point,
I think we became friends.
yeah, yeah, there's the old bandana hair days, and we won't get into that. But yeah,
The annoying boy stuff, they pull off your bandana and your cap and goof around.
yeah. Anyhow, I did get her attention. Anyhow, so from there, we built a friendship, and she became my sister. And it was something that I treasured, a relationship that I treasured because I knew that I could always talk to her.
And I do recall a time in band. We were out trying to practice for our marching band field show. This is when we got into high school.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to like square off and try to tackle him. He also played football at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought somehow that was a good idea to like get down and like I'm going to go forward. And
it was a good idea.
well, next thing I know, I'm up in the air over his shoulder and the band teacher is yelling,
yeah, Dan, put her down, Dan. And of course I'm running up and down the field with her where we're getting ready to do our marching practice. A lot of fun. And I think it was one of those things where we just knew that we were going to continue to hit it off after having been through a summer break between 8th grade and 9th grade. We kind of picked up where we left off. If you recall, there was one time we were setting up for a concert. It was a fundraiser for the high school band program.
But this was kind of after you'd had other girlfriends or other boys I was interested in. We were
Yeah.
still friends kind of all through that.
Yeah, and go figure, one thing led to another. And I always wanted to know if I had a chance at ever dating her. Obviously, a few years had gone by, and best friends is nice, but it wasn't what I was looking for in the end. And so during this setup for this concert fundraiser that we were having for the high school, I was moving chairs, moving tables, doing all kinds of stuff. And I was worried about chipping the stone on my
Didn't want to scratch his ring.
high school ring. And so I would ask her to hold on to it for me while I did the heavy work. And when I got done, I would ask for the ring back. And yeah. And so I'm
So like several times I would hold the ring.
yeah. And I got to thinking at some point in time, she's either going to say that she's interested or she's going to get aggravated with me and go someplace else.
So I eventually said, the next time you give it to me, I'm keeping it. Make sure you know for sure you're giving it to me.
And so I gave it to her. And I can tell you that she's had one of my rings on her finger ever since then. And we've been friends for over 44 years. We've been married for 37 years. And it's been the most wonderful times with the most wonderful person sharing the most wonderful things of my life. So we go from high school and to the junior prom, if you will, and the senior prom. And we obviously started the official dating junior prom and continued that dating on through the rest of high school and into college. And we both attended the same junior college and got our associate's degrees. And then you left me.
Yes, I went off to university first. And I think you started like a year behind me or something.
I did.
Worked the first year out of high school.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to school right away. In fact, my career desire at the time was to become a musician. And so I worked in a music store selling pianos and guitars and organs. And when I could, I'd play. And at that point in time, it was very apparent to me that there wasn't going to be a lot of money to start. And I was interested in a lot of other things. And so I probably needed to head to college and get serious about the life ahead of me.
But eventually we made it to Southern Illinois University together. We got married that first year, I think.
Yeah, 1983. Your program was community health education.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to be in the radio television production department. At the time, Southern Illinois University was a top 3 school in broadcast. And I figured if I could make it there, I could make it anywhere. And it turned out to be a great program with a lot of success for me, and was very influential in terms of my career where we went next.
So right out of college, we moved to St. Petersburg, Florida.
We did. And the reason we chose St. Petersburg, well, it's kind of an interesting story.
It's a place near where our family vacation.
Yeah. And I think the original reason for heading down to Florida is at the time there was a rumor that there were going to be some movie studios coming into the Orlando area. And I thought, well, they're going to probably need some people.
Back.
It is going way back. Those particular movie studios turned out to be Universal Studios and the Disney MGM studios. So it was one of those things where I had actually applied for a job with the Disney folks, was actually offered a job if I would shave my beard. Well, I've had a beard since I was born. And I thought,
and when you're young and stupid, you make stupid decisions like not shaving your beard for a great job.
I also had a job offer at WGN at one point. So what does that tell you? Anyhow, so long story short, we settled in St. Petersburg. We lived on the beach for a while and enjoyed the sand and the surf, so to speak, and decided to have our 3 kids.
During that time, I worked for a visually impaired and blind center for a while as a social worker and also as an educator. And let's see, you did a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean,
eventually worked for cable company.
So instead of going to work for Disney, I decided I'd start painting condos on the beach, fixing condos on the beach. And I got to thinking I need to get into something that was related to my career, education. And so I eventually had 3 job offers. One was to move back to Illinois, and 2 were for job opportunities down in Florida. And I managed to secure a job that meant a lot to me, and it gave me the opportunity to do a lot of different kind of television productions, from spring training Philadelphia Phillies baseball to Clearwater Phillies in the summer, the Class A League, Clearwater Jazz Holiday, which was a beautiful jazz festival out on the Gulf, and really enjoy a wide variety of entertainment, local affairs, and government type programming.
Also during this time, we had 3 sons, and while they were little, I decided to stay close to them and taught preschool.
And that was, I think, the thing that always worked really well for us, is that one of us were always around the kids, and it worked out real well for us.
And eventually, when our youngest one was still a baby, I decided to go back to school for nursing. And we decided that would be a really good career, would take us anywhere we wanted to go. So while 3 little kids, went back to school for nursing, which wasn't exactly easy. And that gave you more responsibility with the boys too.
Yeah. And by responsibility, she means that in the first 2 boys, I maybe changed diapers all of 6 times. The 3rd boy, a lot of diaper changes.
But it was good for him. He needed to do that.
Okay, moving right along. Ended up working for the city of St. Petersburg eventually, and was in charge of putting together their government television program for the Marketing and Public Information Office. And I think one of the big projects there that I'm most proud of is being part of the marketing team that helped bring the Tampa Bay Devil Rays to St. Petersburg. That was a lot of fun. One of the not so fun jobs within the city of St. Petersburg, I mean, we featured all the departments, we featured all the government agencies. But in 1996, eerily reminiscent of where we're at today, there was a shooting from a white police officer of a black youth that had stolen a car. The youth died, and St. Petersburg went into a series of riots, not unlike what you've seen across the nation earlier, and certainly with the Watts riots in Los Angeles. And I think really having a lot of experience, not only in government, but in these kinds of issues that had taken place, it really gave me a unique perspective fairly early on as to what things could be done to improve situations, whether it was, a sporting franchise coming to a town as an economic boost, or whether it was dealing with a riot situation and finding a way to build a community with faith-based initiatives and those kinds of things. And so it informs me as to how we move this show forward in the future and with all the things that are taking place.
And meanwhile, I was a nurse at a children's hospital and raising 3 little boys. I worked nights, and he was, of course, days. And that was a sacrifice we made so that, again, one of us was always home with the boys.
Yeah, and I will tell you that our philosophy has been very simple, and that is we had our kids, we were going to raise our kids. We weren't going to leave it to somebody else. And by doing that, I think one of the lessons that I learned early on in this process, as far as being a husband and a father, is I was spending 40 plus hours, in most cases 60, 70, 80 hours a week building stations, building a career. And there was a time that I came home and we had Lisa and me had a kind of a come to Jesus meeting, if you will. And it was a question she asked me that really kind of stopped me in my tracks. And she says, what is your legacy going to be? Is it going to be the work that you're doing, or is it going to be your family? And the question, quite honestly, stopped me in my tracks. And I put a lot of thought into it and decided that the family had to come first. My wife had to come first. My kids had to come first. And so with that, I think one of the things that we did that was fun is we always would purchase an annual pass to go to one of the many theme parks located throughout Florida. And so we spent a lot of time having fun with our kids. Mm-hmm. So, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So, but anyhow, so some additional work from my standpoint, I ended up with Pinellas County Economic Development and started up their TV operation. So I had a history of starting up successful operations. And about 2004, Florida got battered pretty good by hurricane season. In fact, if I recall, when they name storms, they usually don't figure they're going to make it through that list of names. This particular season in 2004, not only did they make it through the names, but they went past it. And
into the Greek alphabet.
Yeah, I had no idea that's what they did, but they go into the Greek alphabet to name storms. Mm-hmm. So by 2006, we were pretty well convinced that we needed to seek high ground. And we had some relatives who lived in Colorado, and we decided to make Mile High our high ground in the Rocky Mountains.
We always said we were going to live in the Rocky Mountains. I think you even wrote that on one of my yearbooks.
I did, in fact. We came out here since 1970, at least I did with my family, because I had the relatives move out here. And I think somewheres in 1980-ish, I brought you out here. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, in the yearbook, I wrote that someday we would be living in Fall River Estates. And if you know where that's at, it's up by Rocky Mountain National Park in Estes Park. And we didn't quite get there yet, but it's certainly part of, I think, of our next journey plans.
Yes, it's been a good move for us here in Colorado. We've continue to raise our 3 sons here. We picked this area primarily because we knew it had a great school system. They were really interested in music, and mm-hmm. Dan researched and found they had a really good music instructor here. So it's one of the reasons we picked this particular area. And 2 of our sons have also found their soulmates, and 1 is still available.
So 2 down, 1 to go. Please call now. If you're interested, we can hook you up and move our boy forward. Please call now. Anyhow, so that takes us to where we are today. I think the next part that we need to cover for this Enlighten segment is what this show is going to be about. As I mentioned earlier, and as I've mentioned on a previous episode, we're going to be doing 2 television shows. The one that you're watching right now is obviously a tape show. It's pre-produced in advance, and it's released going to be on Monday mornings. And this is the show, like I said earlier, that we're gonna talk about one topic. We're picking one topic. The Enlighten segment is going to talk in detail about that topic. We're going to enlighten people about it and kind of set the foundation for the rest of the show. Next is the Inspire segment of the show, and that's coming up next on this show. You'll get to see what that looks like. But the long and the short of the Inspire segment is, in advance of each show, we're going to put out questions that deal with the topics that we're covering. What we're hoping to have is our viewers, our subscribers, participate in our shows by answering those questions, giving us your thoughts and your comments about the particular topic that we're addressing.
We're looking for things that inspire people, things that inspire our viewers, and we want to know about those things. So I think this week we're going to have a little bit different twist on it since it is our first show.
We're going to tell you about the things that inspire us. So that'll be fun. And then after we get done with that, we will deal with the shine portion of our show. And where we get into that is really kind of the people and the organizations that are moving a certain topic or certain issue forward, that they're actively participating in seeing it through, not just talking about it, but actually doing something about it. There's talking the talk and there's walking the walk. And the shine segment is going to be about the people who get it done.
That's right. We're going to be focusing and shining a light on people that are actually doing something positive in their community.
So I think that's a great point, Lisa. The end game, the design of this show is to essentially, through a grassroots effort, is to build a community of like-minded people that are positive, that are doers, that want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
People that want to make a difference.
Absolutely. And the second show that we're going to be doing, and we're going to walk ourselves into this one gradually, trying to pace ourselves to figure out how the work schedules are going to go and what we need to do to accomplish this primary show first. But the second show is going to be a live show. It's going to allow us to take the subject of that week, or maybe of the subjects, plural, of that month, and bring in either subject matter experts or thought leaders that can help us dig deeper into the topic and really have a more valued discussion about some of these topics.
And I think it'll be a more interactive session too, where it'll be question and answers from our viewers.
That's correct. So again, what you take away from this is you see that we're interested in your participation. It's not just enough to view this program or watch our live show, but it's really to give us feedback, to give us your thoughts, your comments, your questions, and that we can build this process together. I mean, in the end, we want to enlighten each other. We want to inspire each other so that we can go and shine forth in this world.
Sounds like a great show to me, Dan.
Well, I can tell you we're looking forward to it, and we're certainly looking forward, again, to your participation. So with that, we get ready to head on to the next segment, Inspire.
This is the Inspired section of our show, and it's where we hope to be inspiring and also to be inspired by our viewers.
That's right, Lisa. This is the segment that really counts on your participation. Weeks before we actually tape a show, we're figuring out the topics that we're going to discuss. And when we do that, we're going to come up with a question that we're going to send out through our social media platforms for you to take a look at and answer. Now, you can give us your thoughts and your comments. You can give us what you personally think, or maybe something that's going on in your community, or something that you're aware of through other feeds and news and those kinds of things.
But it's something that would inspire you, and it relates to the topic that we've put forth.
That's right. And because this is kind of our show, we're going to talk about the things that inspire us, knowing full well that in future shows, you're going to tell us what inspires you, which will in turn inspire us. Lisa, let's start with you. What inspires you?
All right. Well, I'm a reader. I enjoy reading inspiring stories and also some motivational speakers that I like to listen to. Like a motivational speaker that I really enjoy is Les Brown. Uh, he's always someone that's great to get you motivated. And also reading, as I mentioned, I enjoy a lot of different books, but one of my favorites that comes to mind is The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews.
What is that story about?
Well, it's in a kind of roundabout way. It's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life, but the main character gets into a car accident, and he has an opportunity to go back in time and experience and learn lessons from different characters in history, different real life historical figures. Wow. And he learns a lesson from each one. And he kind of gets a do-over then for the rest of his life. He has lessons that he learns and is able to go forward in his life and be inspired and make a big difference in change his whole entire world, really.
Well, that sounds like a really cool thing. I am not much of a book reader. I have never been much of a book reader. What I do think is a possibility is I might get into those Audible books because we started one right. And it's actually a lot of fun to listen to. I just don't comprehend things very well when I'm reading things. I never have for whatever reason. So
an Audible book would be a way to go.
It certainly would be.
All right. So how about you, Dan? What things inspire you?
Well, for most of my life, the one thing that inspires me the most is music. I play music, I write music, and I listen to music. And it is the first and foremost joy that I have outside of you. That's how I stayed married for 37 years. And so I've listened to just a lot of different genres over the course of time. I enjoy country music. I enjoy classic rock. I enjoy jazz and blues. And so it's been fun as I've grown older to kind of revisit some of the things that I listened to earlier in my childhood.
Is there a particular song that is meaningful?
Yeah, there is. Interestingly enough, and you're probably getting sick of hearing it because I play it on wherever I go, whether it's on our PA system, on my phone or whatever. But it's Tommy James and the Shondells, Crystal Blue Persuasion. A fantastic song. A little history behind that song. Back when I was a boy, my cousin, and you know who you are, was a big Beatles fan. And so I got attached to the Beatles pretty early. But the first band that I really remember and listening and loving was Tommy James and the Shondells. And so through all their hits, I think Crystal Blue Persuasion came out about 1968. So I would have been, I think, a whopping 7 years old. And I just remember the chords, which I spent a lot of time on the music portion. I never really spent a lot of time on the lyrics. But as I've gotten older and gone back and revisited some of those things, this is one of those songs that I think has relevant meaning now. And a little history behind it, and I found this interesting, is a lot of people back in the generation of the 60s thought that Crystal Blue Persuasion was a song about drugs. I thought it was a song about drugs. When you look at some of the videos, no, you just, later. Yeah, no, especially later, yeah. But when you listen to an interview that Tommy James gave, he talked about the reason for writing the song, and it was after he read the book of Revelations that this song came to him. And it couldn't be more relevant in today's times. And so I've been listening to a lot of that music, a lot of the good old classic rock. At some point in time, I'll swing back around into country music and jazz and those kinds of things. But that's a favorite right now.
And I know something that inspires both of us is being out in nature. We really enjoy getting outside and watching the birds and the animals and feeling the breeze and
yeah, I mean, when you think
mountains.
About it, Lisa, we spent 22 years in Illinois, and that was in the cornfields and the grasslands and those kinds of things. And then we moved to Florida and spent 22 years there. So you got surf, sand, and sun, and that was fun while it lasted. And then we made the move here to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And I got to be honest with you, the mountains have been my favorite. I do love the hiking. I do love seeing the waterfalls, the streams, the elk, the moose, all the different kinds of animals that make up this ecosystem here. And we bought some snowshoes. Hopefully we'll be able to go out and do some snowshoeing next year.
Right.
And so we're looking forward to that.
Well, and so I guess that brings us to our dream wall. We wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. And if you notice behind us from the previous segment, we've added a new green wall. And the long and the short of that is it's a dream wall. The kind of idea involved us years ago thinking about what was important to us, what we wanted to move towards, setting goals, setting visions.
And a lot of people create dream boards.
Yeah.
And we have too.
Well, we used to cut out pictures of mountains, log cabins, and those kinds of things. And we'd take one of those little magnets, stick them to the refrigerator. And every time we opened up the refrigerator, we'd see that vision, that dream that we have.
That's right. And so we thought we would create a whole dream wall to show different things that inspire us and different goals that we're working on. And we thought it would be fun to be in different locations from time to time. Maybe we will be sitting in the mountains or sitting
Back
on the beach.
or
who knows?
Yeah,
travel somewhere.
Yeah, maybe you go over to the Eiffel Tower or something like that. But that's the important part, is that you have to keep a vision of a dream in order to keep moving forward. It's important for inspiration to do that.
And another cool thing we were thinking about is if our viewers have some dreams, that we can share our dream wall with you guys. And if you would like to send in a picture of something that's on your dream wall, we can add it to ours, and you'll get to see it in an upcoming episode.
That's right. So you'll get to tune in, and right here on this green wall, you'll get to see one of your photographs that you dream about and hope to have it become a reality someday.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers the Inspire section for now.
I think it does, yeah. And so we're going to move on to the next segment, and I am really excited about this next segment. It is our Shine segment, and we actually went on location. So stay tuned, and we'll go to that segment next. In our Shine segment, we feature the doers, the people who make it a daily mission to try and improve the communities that they live in.
And this week we had the opportunity to go on location and speak with a wonderful lady about her amazing program.
Let's go take a look at that segment now.
Welcome to the Shine segment of our show. Today we are highlighting Eagle's Nest Ranch in Elizabeth, Colorado. And I'm excited to be here today with Suzy MacKenzie, who is the founder and executive director of Eagle's Nest Ranch. Thanks so much for having us out today, Suzy.
Well, Lisa, my thanks are to you for wanting to come out here and highlight what we do out here to help people with horses. So Eagle's Nest Ranch is a nonprofit horse ranch ministry, and we use horses to help people with adversity. A lot of times there's invisible wounds, things that we can't see from events that have happened in life, and sometimes those things can become an obstacle for moving forward. And so we try to help people move past those things through interaction with our horses, knowing that God really is the one that does the healing.
That's awesome. Is there a particular group of people that you are especially hoping to help?
Well, actually, we have a couple different categories or different populations that we serve. One program is the Healing Horses for the Armed Forces program that serves the military, which would be active duty and veteran spouses and their children. And then we also serve the general public as well. And so that might be a child who's going through a difficulty, or a woman who's faced abuse in her life. And then, of course, the military with the PTSD or reintegration. And then a couple years ago, as I was talking with a sheriff's chaplain, I started realizing that every time law enforcement goes out the door, it's like a deployment. We think of the deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, but we don't necessarily think about every time a first responder steps out the door, they don't know what they're going to face. And so it was, God just really impressed upon me that we need to serve our first responders as well. So we started a program through our Buckaroo Days, First Responder Buckaroo Days, which actually we're getting ready to hold just in a couple weeks now.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more about Buckaroo Days. What kinds of things happen there?
So our First Responder Buckaroo Days is one of the events that I look forward to so much. And so what we do is we invite first responder families out to our ranch for a day of fun. So that's law enforcement, firefighters, EMT, as well as dispatcher families. And we want to give them a day of fun that they can come out and relax and just enjoy the day with their families. We do games, we do activities with our horses. They can take a ride on a horse. We do crafts. We do hay rides. I had one kid a couple years ago. He was talking to another little boy, and he was like, "What's a hay ride?" And so, it's just fun to get them out here to have a day of fun. We do a devotional with them, and as well as we provide lunch, and it's just a fun day for them.
It sounds awesome. Now, is this a free event for those families?
Yes, we certainly don't want to charge them for coming out here, so it's something that we offer to them free of charge. And but it doesn't mean that there's no cost to it, right?
That's right. So I'm sure you're needing some sponsors and perhaps some volunteers to help with the events.
Yes, we do. So the event is paid for through the sponsors that we have. These are businesses in the area that want to partner with us and join in honoring our first responders and thanking them. And so that the sponsorships enable us to be able to provide this event free of charge. And then you mentioned volunteers. Yes, we always need volunteers. It takes quite a crew to be able to put this on, take care of these horses, as well as the games and crafts and that kind of thing. So volunteers are welcome as well.
Great. So if people want to reach out to you for sponsorship or to volunteer, what would be the best way to reach you?
Yes, we have sponsorships, volunteer sign up, as well as first responder families sign up is all on our website, which is eaglesnestranch.org, eaglesnestranch.org. And go to the Buckaroo page, and there's sponsorship, registration, and volunteer sign up as well.
Awesome. It sounds like a fun event.
Yes, and the days, so we have 3 Buckaroo days during the summer, and our first one is Saturday, June 27th from 11 to 3. Then we have one on Thursday, July 9th. And then our last one for the summer is on a Sunday afternoon, July 26th. So all of those days, we still have openings for families to sign up as well as volunteers.
Thank you so much, Suzy. This sounds like a great event. I really appreciate that you honor our first responders. It's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely what we want to do is honor them.
That's great. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, that drives us, that we want to express to people who come out to the ranch, is that no matter how dark the day is, there's always hope. And that hope is in the Lord.
That's an awesome message. That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're a first responder family who came to Buckaroo Days in June of 2019. We wanted to get out with some of our friends and we wanted to try something new. And since Buckaroo Days is geared toward law enforcement, first responders, and their families, we decided it would be a cool thing to get out and do with our families. So when we attended, we came with a group of our friends and we had lunch and we got to hang out and play with horses and paint the horses. We did a lot of games and we just had a blast, and it was a really cool resource. It was a really cool resource for us to have that's unique and different for law enforcement, for first responders, firefighters, EMS, all those personnel. So we really had a good time just trying something different as a family and exploring some things that have now led us to volunteer here at the Eagle's Nest Ranch. Selfishly, since being out here on the ranch and being around horses is part of my heart, it really worked out well for us to start volunteering here. My husband and I both have a huge passion for law enforcement and ministry combined, and after a series of events and things in our lives, just with the challenges of shift work and everything, we decided that volunteering would be a really good outlet for our family. And what Eagle's Nest Ranch and Suzy and her team does is far greater than what we could have ever known. What it's done for our family just in the few times that we've been out here is grown us together, and it's watching our little boys serve others, which is huge for us. And so when we come out here onto the ranch and we see and hear the testimony of what people have gone through, we really we want that in our family and for our brothers and sisters in the first responder world. So this resource has been really huge for our family. The struggles that we've gone through and just being out here getting fresh air and doing things that we love to do and doing it together has been really an amazing thing for us. We encourage all of our friends and family in the first responder world to get involved in something like this. A lot of times we don't feel like there's resources, but there are, and this is one. Connecting with animals and connecting with God's creation and other believers and other first responders, it really is a beautiful thing. And being able to do this as a family is just so special, and watching our little guys grow and serve has been truly a blessing for us.
Our son has shown so much improvement since coming and spending time here. It's been really nice to have the support and encouragement of Eagle's Nest Ranch to just see improvement in his behavior and medical stuff. So we're just so thankful for the ranch.
Well, that was a great interview, Lisa.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Well, that wraps up our inaugural show for the INSPIRIT Network. We thank you for watching, and we certainly appreciate your participation.
We hope that you've been enlightened. We hope that you've been inspired. Now let's go shine.
Take care, everyone.